So he targeted his rooftop with Google Earth.
Google Earth, exactly.
Okay.
There's a lot of water involved. There might be issues with
The
irrigation.
risk to the building.
The risk to the building, a bit of a headache. Zoning sounds like a bit of a boring subject, but it's actually very complex. This community of, we call them Locavores.
Lufavores, I love it. Welcome to the Irrepressibles Podcast, the podcast where we usually sit down with the founders of startups to explore the mindset that it takes to start something really bold. But today we're doing something a little bit different. Our guest is not the founder, but she's someone who's been with the company and has been carrying the company's voice for the past 5 years. So joining us today is Emily Peloquin. Hello, Emily.
Hi.
So happy to be here. Thanks for inviting us into this
Thank you
beautiful
for having me.
space. Emily, you are the communications coordinator at Lufa Farms, which
Exactly.
I'm sure a lot of people have heard about because it's been 15 years now.
It has been 15 years. Yeah, this year it's our 15-year anniversary.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you very
It's a
much.
big year for you guys. So Emily, you're one of the people who keeps the engine running kind of behind the scenes as someone who's not the founder. And you invited us to come here right where the action happens, right in we're sitting here actually on the rooftop of a Montreal greenhouse.
We are on a roof. We're on the first commercial rooftop greenhouse in the world.
In the world,
Yeah.
not just in Montreal.
Not just in Montreal.
Oh, that's
So
impressive.
no one had really done anything like this before we started 15 years ago. And people were a little skeptical. It was kind of a crazy idea. And we built this greenhouse, the first one in the world. And then people really started believing in the project. And
Wow.
now we have 5 greenhouses,
5 greenhouses, all in Montreal.
all in Montreal and all on rooftops.
All on Why rooftops?
Rooftops because it allows us to grow food where people live.
Mhm.
It allows us to reduce transportation costs. It means that
Yeah.
the food that you eat is grown right where you live. It doesn't spend hours in a truck or
Mhm.
on a plane or on a train, and it doesn't come from far away. It means that you can have complete transparency on your food choices. You know who's growing your food,
Right.
how it's being grown. It also makes use of a lot of space that isn't used normally.
That's
So rooftops are completely empty, usually in cities, or they just have the aeration systems on the roof, but it's wasted space.
Mhm.
And we don't have the luxury in our world anymore to have wasted space.
Right.
So we're trying to make the most of it.
Oh God, I have so many questions for you. You said so many interesting things, but I'm just wondering if we go back 15 years ago,
Yeah.
the idea originally of the idea of the mission behind the company is growing food where people live to be more sustainable and a lot of the values that you just mentioned. But it's not something that comes easily at first. You have to convince a rooftop owner to give you his space. And then I'm imagining there's zoning issues. Can you tell us a little bit about was this a crazy idea in the beginning, or was it something that seemed obvious and just kind of flawlessly happened?
Absolutely not. It was definitely a crazy idea. So Mo, our founder and CEO, is originally Lebanese, and in Lebanon, he found that he had complete transparency on the food chain. He knew where the food was grown, how it was grown by who. And when he came to Canada, especially in the winter, he didn't really know where the food came from because we depend on
Right.
imports so much,
Mhm.
especially in the winter months when it's -40 and you can't grow anything outside. And so he had this crazy idea of growing food where people live and also changing the current food system, building a better food system,
Mhm.
not just for us right now, but also for future generations.
Right.
And that's where the idea originally came from. And so he got a team together, spent a lot of time on Google Maps looking at rooftops, did a few tests at the McGill rooftop greenhouse. It's quite small.
So he targeted his rooftops.
We
Okay,
targeted
but
his
the rooftop
rooftops.
with Google Earth or Google Maps.
Google Earth, exactly.
Okay.
Because
Original.
you need a certain amount of space, you need a certain structure that can hold the weight of a greenhouse.
Mhm.
And he found about 150 rooftops that could potentially work. And all of them said no, except one. And we knocked on the door of this building and the owner said no initially. But then he went home that evening, talked to his wife and his daughter, like we all do about our days, and called us back the next morning and said, they think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea. Let's go.
Do we know why initially the answer was no?
I think a lot of people were a little apprehensive about the idea of having agriculture on a rooftop. There's a lot of water involved. There might be issues with irrigation.
The risk to the building.
The risk to the building, a bit of a headache. You know, no one wants more work in their day. We're all very busy. But there are actually a lot of benefits to having a rooftop greenhouse on the building. It insulates the building below, which means in the winter, the building uses a lot less heating.
Right.
And in the summer, it reduces the heat that you have in cities because there's a lot of airflow. And so it reduces the need for AC.
Which is a very hot topic.
Which is a hot topic.
Warming, right?
Absolutely.
In the cities. Wow.
And it also means that we look after the roof because it's our base, it's our floor. And so the building owner doesn't have to worry about it so much. So there are a lot of benefits for building owners, but it had never been done before. So there was no precedent on which to base ourselves. And we also got a lot of support from the municipality of Ahansik. You mentioned zoning earlier.
Right.
Zoning sounds like a bit of a boring subject, but it's actually very complex and it can create hurdles for us because we're changing something that's a commercial building into something that's commercial and agricultural.
Right.
And so there's a lot of rules and regulations about that. But the municipality of Ahansik was super supportive. They put in place everything that we needed. And now, a fun fact, Ahansik and Montreal in general is the world capital of urban agriculture. There's the highest concentration of urban agriculture right here.
So the mayor of the city has transformed, in fact, Ahansik into a place that's regarded as innovative. In terms of agriculture. Wow.
Yeah, super innovative. There's a Centrale Agricole right behind where we are right now, and they have a lot of super interesting projects as well.
And I know you weren't there those first years, but you're obviously very close to the founders. I'm imagining in the beginning when there was a lot of convincing to do, it was a completely innovative idea. So there was no precedent to say it works and there's no risk. And, you know, potentially there might have been. Did the founders ever doubt their idea? Did they ever think, oh, this is too big, it's not going to happen, there are too many players with their own interests that might put some hurdles in the way? Like how convinced they were that the idea was doable?
So I don't know the answer for certain, but knowing Mohammed as well as I do, I think he always saw this vision as being possible. I think he was absolutely convinced that this was doable. And he was right. And he was very good at bringing together a team that made it possible. People who believed in the project, who were there to support his vision and continue to do so today.
And talking about your role, so you're part of the team. You're one of these people that support the project. Obviously, the way you talk about it, you're very passionate about it yourself. Did you step into the founder's mindset, or was it something that you had to sort of work your way into, or did automatically think, I need to work for this company, I believe in it?
I think it was a belief, a question of belief. I think I understood the vision or the end goal, and I wanted to believe in it. I'm forever an optimist to a fault. And I really do think that it's these kinds of projects that can change the world and be commercially viable and just as good for the environment as well.
Right. So you're like an amplifier of the vision in your role as a communications director. You do a lot of interviews and you talk about the success. So the getting back to where we are right now, which is actually beautiful and very hot.
It is very hot right now.
Because we had or you graciously accepted to turn off the ventilation so that we could do this interview. But this is the first greenhouse, as you mentioned earlier. There's 4 more greenhouses. What's special about this one, and how are the other ones different?
This one is special because it's our first one, but also because it's quite unique. In the beginning, we wanted to offer as much variety as possible to our clients. We didn't work with any other partners like we do today. At the moment, we have about 450 food producers that we work with, but that wasn't the case 15 years ago. We had a CSA basket model, so you couldn't choose.
CSA meaning?
It's like the farmer's baskets, where you get what you get, you don't choose what you get. You get what's in season, what is grown.
Surprise.
A surprise, exactly. But very quickly, our clients started calling us saying, oh, could we have a bit more of this or a bit less of that? And so quickly we changed the model to allow our clients to customize their own baskets. But that wasn't the case in the beginning. And so we wanted to be able to grow as many different varieties as possible.
Okay.
So this greenhouse actually has 2 temperature zones and 2 different types of cultures. Behind us, you can see that they're horizontal
Yes,
cultures.
that's right.
So here we grow a lot of lettuce and fresh herbs. And then next door, it's a vertical culture system where we grow things like tomatoes, aubergines, cucumbers, peppers.
Right. So vegetables that grow up, basically you adapt to that. Okay. And the other thing that you mentioned earlier was that you don't use any earth basically to grow the vegetables here.
No, we don't. So we have a hydroponic system, which means that all of the nutrition that the plants need is in the water instead of being in the soil. It allows us to be slightly lighter because we're on a rooftop. It also means that we can have a water system that is closed loop and recycles 90% of the water that we use.
Wow.
And we also use the water from snowmelt, we use rainwater, we filter it, we recycle it. And so we're very efficient in terms of our water consumption.
So that leads me to a question that I was wondering. Now we're in July, very beautiful day outside. It's summer, but in the wintertime, I'm assuming you're getting some of the heat from the building, the sunlight, but also what changes in the winter? Are you capable of continuing growing the same vegetables at the same rate?
So we still grow the same vegetables. The rate changes slightly, but very, very little. Okay. We see it, but our clients don't see it so much. We still heat the greenhouses. Being on a rooftop and on top of a building means that the ground technically that we're on is insulated. Right. Here we're on the 3rd floor. And so there's a lot of insulation below us. We recuperate the heat from the building below. And that allows us to reduce our energy consumption. We're in Montreal, in Quebec, which means that we're extremely fortunate that the source of our electricity and the source of our energy is hydroelectric. Okay. So it's renewable. That's right. In a few years, maybe we'd love to be able to copy and paste this model everywhere in the world. And energy sources are something to think about as well.
Absolutely.
So having hydroelectric energy allows us to be even more efficient and sustainable. So we're very fortunate. So in the winter, we use electricity to heat the greenhouses.
So but then at the same time, it's offset by the fact that you can use the meltwater to nourish the plants and water the plants.
Exactly. Okay. So we're very efficient in our consumption.
Yes, and that also brings me to something you mentioned earlier about coconut fiber, which is also part of this circular economy that you're describing, where you're using something that otherwise would have gone to waste. And you found a use for it. Can you tell us about that?
Absolutely. So because we're in hydroponics, we don't use any soil. The roots of the plants still need a home. They need somewhere to grow. And a good root system means a healthy plant. Yeah. And so instead of using earth, like we would normally in agriculture, in our horizontal system, which is the one behind us, we use peat moss, which is biodegradable. And then in our vertical structures or cultures, we use coconut husk fiber. It has no nutritional value for the plant, but it means that at the end of a plant's life cycle, we can compost everything because the coconut fiber is compostable.
Right. And this is a product that's being imported into the province anyway, because it's being used by other industries.
It has a lot of different uses. It is imported for us. We work with a company that does the bags and cleans the fibers. Right. But it's a reject from the coconut industry that otherwise wouldn't be used.
Sounds so harsh.
It is a reject. But we love it and we use it every day.
Okay, so you use no new land, and at the same time, how many acres are you harvesting now?
Gosh, I'm stumped on the number.
I think I saw 500,000. Does that make sense?
It might be 500,000 feet because our biggest greenhouse is 165.
Okay,
It's 163,000 square feet. So that would make sense, about 500,000 square feet.
And none of this is new land.
None of it.
All completely on rooftops. That would have been useless anyway. You're also reducing waste. You're involved in the circular economy. You're composting, using hydroponic technology, but also there's something about working with the community. You mentioned earlier farmers are involved, but in addition to farmers and other food growers, the actual consumers play a certain role in your vision.
They play a huge role. I
Yeah.
mean, we wouldn't be here without them. We're extremely fortunate that we've created this community of, we call them Locavores.
Yes, Lufavores. I love it.
So our Locavores, we absolutely wouldn't be here without them. It's our clients that every week choose to support us.
Mhm.
And not just us, because as I said earlier, we work with about 450 food producers all around Quebec, a couple of in Ontario as well, to have a full grocery lineup. So bread, meat, dairy,
Okay. Okay.
other kinds of vegetables, potatoes, squash, delicious fruit in the summer. It's a very seasonal marketplace, so it does change depending on the season. Our greenhouse products are always available because we can grow year round.
Right.
But it means that it's not just us in this food system. We're working with food producers, we're working with clients, and we're trying to make the food chain as short and as small as possible to give our clients the freshest food and to support the local food producers that are right here, instead of having food come from thousands of kilometers away. And it also means that it's a food system that's sustainable. It's resilient as well.
Why is it resilient?
So we
No
see
pests?
so we don't use any synthetic pesticides, but it's resilient in terms of market changes, political changes. We had the pandemic a few years ago, and it's that in these moments of crisis that we see that having food come from so far away just isn't very sustainable, not only in terms of the environment, but also it doesn't resist to all of these changes that can happen if a political decision is made one day and everything kind of breaks down. That's not a resilient food system.
And that's a very popular topic right now, as I'm sure you're all talking about with Mark Carney, who's trying to make Canada more autonomous in many different areas, the food industry being one of them. So is that something that's on the company's mind right now?
All the time.
Yeah.
So it's always on our mind, and we notice it when there are these changes, either in politics or with pandemics, that kind of thing. People are looking for solutions, and we provide that solution. People are more conscious of the importance of an autonomous food system. But what is important to note is that this food system exists in this time of crisis only if it exists when there isn't a time of crisis.
And has Lufa Farms seen a jump in sales with the whole Buy Canada, Buy in Canada movement that we've seen over the past few months?
We have. The
Have you felt
political
it?
climate was stressful for everyone, ourselves, our producers, our clients. But we did notice that people were more supportive of local producers, and that's really great to see.
Right. So what has changed since you started here? We're in the original greenhouse. You described it to us, but there are other greenhouses that are, could I say, a little bit more high tech, or that cater to different plant needs, if I could put it that way.
They are absolutely more high tech. This greenhouse, we love it so much. It's our first greenhouse. It still produces an exceptional amount of food. It's really impressive. But where we're going to become more competitive, where we're going to be able to reduce prices, is making the cost of food production a lot lower. And that's where technology comes into play. So automating processes, having a super efficient climate control system, having a really, highly performative hydroponic system, all of these things are going to allow us to reduce costs and transfer those reductions onto our clients, which means that buying local eventually will just become the obvious choice, regardless of budget. We don't want buying local to be a premium choice. We want it to be the norm. And so by doing that, we have to reduce our costs. And that's why technology really helps.
And does the new technology also allow you to diversify in terms of producing fruits or vegetables that we normally have to import because they're not naturally grown in this environment?
It would eventually allow us to diversify. It's also a question of environmental choices. So as you mentioned earlier, we have a banana plant in this greenhouse.
Yeah, I was looking at it and
it's very cute, but it doesn't produce a lot of bananas. And I don't think we'll ever produce bananas in Quebec, but we are able to produce lettuce all year round. We're able to produce peppers, cucumbers, tomatoes, and loads of different varieties of those products.
Right.
So we are able to produce a lot of the staple foods that we would normally spend a huge amount of money and time and energy importing.
Okay.
Especially in mid-February when it's -40 and you can't grow anything outside.
Exactly.
So this allows us to do that.
Yeah, that's excellent. So I just want to come back a little bit to the new greenhouses. So you're saying it's different technology, so they're not quite the same as what we're seeing here. Um, has it become easier to convince owners of rooftops or different municipalities to embark on this project now that it's been proven a success?
Yes,
Okay.
people are convinced that it works. It's more a question of administrative things that take maybe a little bit more time, but who doesn't love administration?
I don't know. Great question.
But we're very fortunate that we have a lot of support from municipalities, from government bodies,
And the
local
community.
community.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
We wouldn't be here without the community at large. And so it's a project that's brought a lot of people together. I think that's one of the strengths of our founder, Mo, is that he's really good at bringing people together.
Right.
I think that's an underappreciated skill.
And have you had circumstances when the owner of a rooftop or someone who's building something new approaches the company to say, "Hey, like we're doing something new, we want you to be involved"? Has
So
that happened yet?
Absolutely, a couple of times. The second greenhouse that we built is in Laval, and it was built at the same time as the building below.
Okay.
And we were approached by a couple of different government bodies and then a private development company to build the greenhouse. And then again, recently with our last greenhouse, the one that is most technologically advanced, it's at the Marché Central in Montreal. It's on top of a commercial building where there's a Walmart and a Decathlon, a building you'd find anywhere in any mall or commercial center. And that was the municipality of Ahuntsic that was approached by a developer, and the municipality said, yes, go for it. You can go ahead with the project. However, we would like there to be an environmental component to this. We'd like there to be a green roof or some kind of green project.
Right.
And so we were approached, and that's how we got the rooftop.
But it's a greenhouse and not a green roof.
It's a greenhouse and not a
Right.
Yes.
Right. Is there a reason why the company doesn't want to diversify into green roofs?
Green roofs are very much just kind of visually pleasing. It's a good way to offset some environmental components or issues, but having a rooftop greenhouse means that the space is kind of maximized because we're producing a huge amount of food and we're generating a lot of value from that space. So it's a more efficient in terms of environment, but also economy.
And seasonal too, I'm imagining. No green roofs in the winter.
No green roofs in the winter. No, when it freezes, absolutely not. Whereas a greenhouse thrives year round.
Wow, that's awesome. And so let's talk about you a little bit, and the idea that you sort of walked into this mindset, to this to the founder's vision, actually. So where do you see the company going in the future?
I mentioned it earlier, but I think this model, and not just this company, but this model is the future. I think it's a way to go. I grew up in the countryside. I'm a country girl at heart. And we had a garden. I knew where the food was coming from. It was delicious. It was so fresh. And then you move to a big city as a young person and you go to the supermarket and there's so much choice, but it's watered down and you don't really know where it comes from. And if the provenance is written on the package, you don't really know how it's been produced. And so that's something that for me personally was really important in my life, knowing what fuel I was using to fuel my life. And so my sister-in-law, who has been a Locavores client since I think the very, very beginning, during the pandemic, Lufa were looking for team members. I sent an email to their clients saying, if you know anyone who's looking for work, and my sister-in-law forwarded me the email and I jumped at the chance. And I haven't left, and I certainly haven't looked back. So I think this is the future, and I look forward to it. I think this model is truly copy and pasteable in most big cities. And we need to take into consideration resources, so energy sources, the community at large,
Right.
the culture in different
Very good
areas.
point. Yeah.
Because food culture is very personal.
Mm-hmm.
But I definitely think that this is the way forward.
Right.
And it seems easy. It isn't. There's a huge amount of hard work that goes into making all of this a reality. But it
Tell me
is
a little bit
doable.
about in addition to the hard work, the hurdles or the things that sometimes might make you want to say, this is too big, this is too much. What have we taken on?
I think this model requires consumers to change their habits and to change their mindset a little bit.
Yeah.
Because we've been so used to going into a supermarket to buy food without really asking ourselves too many questions about the environment as a whole. You know, we're all busy with our lives and our jobs and our families. We don't necessarily have the headspace to ask those questions, but they're becoming more important. Lufa allows people to not necessarily have to ask those questions and still make the better choice, because our team does all of the groundwork in finding the products, vetting the products, making sure they're grown sustainably, working with people who share our values. And so it's an easy way to make a better choice without having to use even more headspace.
Well, actually, that leads me to a question. Earlier you were saying that for you it was natural because you grew up on a farm and you already knew the value of knowing where your food comes from. But obviously in an urban setting, which is the case here in Montreal and where all the greenhouses are, it's not the case for a lot of people. So how much of your time or the company's time is dedicated to educating the public?
So yeah, we do spend a lot of time and energy and money, of course, trying to change people's perspectives and change people's habits. It is a habit change. We're a completely online space. We don't have any physical retail spaces, and people buy a lot of things online, but they don't necessarily buy their food online.
Right.
They like to see it, they like to touch it. And that's where we can't afford any mistakes when it comes to quality when we deliver the final product. So we have to make sure that every single product that goes into our basket and that's delivered to the client meets the same standards that we personally would choose. And sometimes obviously there are hiccups, and we'll always credit a product to the clients. But it takes a lot of marketing, a lot of time. We have a very big sales team that goes to a lot of events, just to have some feet on the ground, to go meet people, to go talk to people, to have conversations with them, because that's how we find we can really convey what our mission is, what our vision is, why we're doing what we're doing, how we're trying to build a better food system, by having those conversations with people.
And how much does that work? Like the argument of, you know, the intrinsic value behind knowing where your food comes from, how it's made, etc. Is that a selling point?
It is absolutely a selling point. I think most people want to make the best choices, not just for themselves, well, especially for themselves, but also for the wider community, for the environment, for the planet, for future generations, and kind of the big questions, the big subjects. I think people really do want to make the better choices, but we're so busy. And we were talking about headspace earlier. There's only so many decisions you can make in a day. And then you have questions that come into play, like budgets or lifestyles or habits, different cultures and food preferences. So all of those things create this sort of recipe, and the ingredients for why we make the food choices that we make every week or every single day. And so we're trying to shift that slightly to show people that buying local, supporting a better food system isn't just good for you, it's also good for everyone else. And it's an easy choice to make. You can have it delivered to a pickup point, you can have it delivered to your home, you can do it online when you're sitting on the metro and you're bored and you don't know what to do on the way to work. You can do your weekly grocery shop, and you can add a chocolate cake to your basket as a treat for your Friday delivery, which is what I do every week.
But chocolate cake that comes from a local baker.
Exactly.
Right, because all of your partners are...
All of our partners are local too.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So when the customer receives their basket at home, what is it you want them to take in? The main feeling you want them to stay with?
The freshness,
Okay.
the fact that it's local, and the fact that it's responsible. So it's in our slogan, but it's the freshness, so the quality of the product that they're getting for themselves,
Right.
the fact that they're supporting local partners, and the fact that it's a responsible choice all round.
Right. And you sometimes have customers that will say, well, I'd rather buy directly from a farmer, or
Absolutely. It's
yeah,
always a better choice. We should be supporting our local farmers as much as possible.
true.
I think we're offering a solution for people who don't have that luxury, who maybe don't live in the countryside, or even if they live in they don't live in a city center, they live slightly outside of a city center. We deliver to Ottawa, to Sherbrooke, to Quebec, but they don't have the time or the resources to drive to 5 different places to go support local farmers and have their weekly grocery shop. We offer that without having to run around all over the place.
Excellent. And the other thing that you offer, by the way, are visits. And we were talking earlier about not only consumers who are interested in the greenhouses, but sometimes visits that are a little bit more educational. And you were saying there was a special project, one of your special personal projects that you'd like to develop.
I would love to be able to have an educational side of Lufa to show people what it's like. And when people come here, they're always very impressed. And this is our smallest greenhouse, and it's still impressive.
Right.
And I think this makes people's questions or concerns, they understand it better. We're able to answer those questions. We're able to answer those concerns. They're able to see how it's done, that it's not this kind of super high-tech project that's a little incomprehensible. It's just growing food where people live on rooftops.
But it's not just people who want to grow food, but engineers could come and learn things.
We'd love that.
About some of the innovations that we see in the greenhouse.
Yeah, we'd love to be able to have students have a student program. So not just university students, but people in Cégep, even younger students. You start to understand or think about food probably when you're 5, 6 years old. And that's where we should start them young.
And that goes towards what you were saying earlier, is the idea of changing the consumer's mindset about how to consume food.
Absolutely.
Which is the company's mission.
Yes.
By the way, yeah.
One of the kind of sticking points is always cost, of course. Like budget, people's personal budgets are always a concern. We're really trying our best to keep the costs of local production low, so that a question of budget doesn't even come into it eventually. We'll be able to sell fresh local produce at the same price as something
because you don't have the transport costs and all those additional costs.
Exactly.
Right. And I think we need to speak also about another mission of the companies, which is to give back to the community, because you do provide. Well, I'll let you tell us about it.
It's my favorite part of my job. So we have a foundation, the Lufa Farms Foundation. We started it in 2020 during the pandemic. Mohammed, our founder, realized that there was a really big need. I believe the increase in dependency on food banks during the pandemic increased by 60% almost overnight, which is huge. And we had surplus. We were producing a huge amount of food, and we didn't really know what to do with it. So we got in touch with Montreal, and we started doing weekly donations with them. And that still works 4 years later, 5 years later. And then with the foundation, we also started a program which is called the Direct Giving Program. It's a program that allows about 1,000 people every week to make a basket on the Lufa website, just like anyone else, just like one of our Locavores, but it's subsidized. So it's $30 per person per week, plus an extra 25% reduction on fruit and veg to encourage people to eat fruit and veg. And it's an incredible program. It runs itself for no extra cost, and it's supported by our clients mostly. So every single dollar donated to this foundation, this program, goes straight to someone else.
Wow.
The foundation has 0 costs. I think in philanthropy, that's something that's sometimes for donors a bit of a sticking point, is that they don't really know where their money's going. There are administrative costs to foundations, there's running costs, and all of that is absolutely necessary. But because our foundation is all done online, and I'm the only one that manages it, really, it has no extra cost.
Was the foundation your idea?
No, it was Mo. He really wanted to give back. Really, our founder is a passion project,
Yeah.
and it works really well. And we're very fortunate because we work with 8 organizations all around Montreal who know their community and refer people to the program.
Okay.
And they do a lot of administration, I have to say. So a big thank you to them
Right.
for onboarding participants, showing them how it works, helping them. Sometimes there are language barriers. So it's it's an incredible program. It works really well. And then we have another partnership that's a year old now with the Rossi Foundation. And it allows us to reserve a certain part of our production to Moisson Montréal every week.
Okay.
So every week, 8,000 portions of vegetables, mostly lettuce, are automatically given to Moisson Montréal, and the Rossi Foundation account for that.
Wow, 8,000 portions a week.
8,000.
That's a lot.
Yeah. It's just the beginning. We'd love more. But it works really well. It's a great process.
That's awesome. So looking to the future now, there's 5 greenhouses here. I know you're starting to expand into Ottawa, not with greenhouses per se, but in terms of distribution. Is the company looking to expand internationally at some point?
At some point, for sure. Yeah, we're looking to the horizon, to the next rooftop that we can build on all the time. The idea, though, wouldn't be to just build a new rooftop. It really would be to copy and paste what we have in Montreal.
Okay.
So if we were to move to another big city, we'd want suppliers and partners from around that big city. It would be specific to that area or that region. We'd want local bakers. We'd want local cheese producers. So it wouldn't be taking stuff from Montreal somewhere else. It really would be copy and pasting the model and then starting over.
Because presumably, depending on where you are on the planet, when you do this, you have to take into account, and you mentioned it earlier, the culture.
Yes.
And the way food revolves around culture too.
Absolutely. It's a hugely important subject. Food and culture are very much intertwined, and food is such a personal thing. It's such a source of comfort to so many people, and it's very personal. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind as well. And also business culture in different cities or different countries
very
are
good point.
Different. So a lot of adaptability.
So lots of things coming up. Emily, thank you so much. Thank you so much for inviting us here so that we could really have a hands-on experience of what Lufa really is about. Very interesting. And is there anything that we didn't touch upon that you would like to share with the listeners?
No, I think we've covered everything. I'm just very, and this is a personal note, but I'm very impressed with Lufa, even though I'm slightly biased because I do work here. But I think it's an incredible project, and I really do believe in it. So I hope others do too.
Well, looking at what you've been doing, it's easy to embark, and you're very passionate about it. So thanks for taking the time.
Thank you for coming.
Well, thank you. And we've had a wonderful tropical experience here. It's very, very hot. And I have to say, I just want to thank the company for allowing us to turn the ventilators off during the interview. That was very generous of you, because I don't think we could have done it with the ventilators on. So
we got a spa day out of it.
We definitely got a spa day out of it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.